Hello and welcome to our latest episode of the La Project with me, your host, and today with me,
BJ, what's up?
what's up, guys? We're just gonna get right into it. We're gonna talk about some world news to start the show. In Syria, there were protests that were called for the rejection of sectarian violence. I'm not sure if you know about this, but basically HTS, the Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, took power in parts of Syria. There have been attacks against minority groups. So the Syrian president al-Shara, which vows that the interim government will be held accountable.
Yep.
He said there will be no one above the law, and everyone whose hands are stained with the blood of Syrians will face justice sooner or later.
Yep.
So what that means is, obviously Syria has just gone through a new government, basically. So President al-Shara is now
There's a very generous way to put it. It was a coup, man.
Yeah,
it was straight up coup.
Yeah,
That happened overnight.
Yeah.
In one night. That's nuts.
But he's the president now. You know what I mean? So
This dude. What's his name?
Al-Shara.
Oh,
During
he's president where he's declared himself
the president
of certain parts of
Syria,
Alright,
basically. And basically over the last few days there have been violence against the minority groups in Syria.
Yep.
So all over Syria now there have been plenty of protests, plenty of riots, basically condemning this violence.
Are they an Islamist group or no?
They
or
are an Islamist group.
They're an
Islamist group.
Right.
So it's quite something when the president itself is saying that whoever is responsible in this, they will be punished. As if like he's saying that he doesn't have full control over his party, basically. Because people are allowed in his party to do these sort of attacks against the minorities and stuff.
Right.
So what do you think is going to happen in Syria?
Well, I think as every person who aspires to be a good president, who gets the post to be a president or prime minister of a country, a leader of a country, they aspire to be a unifying force.
Yeah.
You know, to unite essentially the citizens of their country, and that might be what he's doing. I've never heard of him, but that I think can be attributed to how well the Bashar al-Assad regime suppress any and all criticism and opposition.
Right.
You know, so in terms of the violence against minority groups, even under Assad for how many years that he was in power, it was still happening.
Yeah.
And it was also, I don't know if it's right to call it a lot worse, but Assad was using chemical weapons, you know, against his own people.
Yeah.
If you come to think about it, they are, after all, Syrians as well. So I know, man. To me, seems kind of sick to say this, but seems like just, you know, different day, same situation.
Yeah. And it's quite sad for Syrians also because over the years, like they have gone through bombings, you know, all these attacks, even like from the US.
Like the US during Obama's second term, I think dropped more bombs on Syria than I think collectively bombs were dropped on Afghanistan and Iraq.
Yes.
It was something crazy.
You're right.
Like that.
You're right. So he dropped the most. I remember when Obama was on his second term, or was it his first term? I'm not sure, but
with Syria's involvement, it was the end of his first term and carried on towards the whole of his second term.
Yes, and I remember throughout the latter parts of his presidency, he dropped the most bombs on Syria up to that point, and he won the Nobel Peace Prize.
He actually won the Nobel Peace Prize before that in his first term.
Right.
But he won that like within a year of being elected and having not actually accomplished anything. Because at the time Obama ran on closing Guantanamo Bay as a military facility, as a prison facility for the CIA's most wanted. So he promised that, and he promised to get out of Afghanistan and Iraq. But within a year, he had actually increased the number of troops in both Afghanistan and Iraq. And until today, Guantanamo Bay remains open. In
Right.
fact, today Guantanamo Bay is being used to house illegal immigrants that are being deported.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
The Trump administration is utilizing, because there's something like 30,000 beds. And
Right.
apparently before 9/11 happened, Guantanamo Bay was used as a temporary housing facility for illegal immigrants that were being deported out of the US. So like essentially like a holding area, refugee camp kind of thing, before they went back to their home countries. Yeah.
That's
So
crazy.
they're just reusing in that capacity. But it's essentially the same facility as Sheikh Khalid Sheikh Muhammad, the guy who is the mastermind of 9/11.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's the same
Facility.
facility.
They're still there. They're still alive, dude. Still being tortured every day. Well, sorry, enhanced, interrogated every day. God knows for what more information. Is like, what, 24 years? You know, since 9/11.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
But they're all still alive. Still there. I think
Okay.
there's like probably 8 of them, 12 of them around there, that number. I'm not exactly
Wow.
sure. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I don't want to get into this because I
Yep.
feel like we can talk more about this in the
Okay.
future, maybe.
Yeah.
But basically, moving on
Yeah.
in other world news around the world. So basically, in Germany for International Women's Day, they held protests across the country. Mostly, they were pro-Palestine protests. Local police forces were caught beating and physically assaulting some of the female or the women protesters.
Oh, why? For what? Under what pretense?
Because basically they were charged under hate speech. So
Oh.
for the people that were on the protest, they were you can look it up. Like you can see videos of it online. German police literally beating up protesters on the street, and most of them were women.
Yep.
So they were all, talking about Palestine, and I think that's one of the reasons why they were all being, I would say, physically harassed or physically assaulted by the local police forces.
Yeah, this has been quite a disturbing trend, especially in Western Europe.
Right.
In Germany, in the UK even, where in the UK people have been arrested for tweets that they made.
About Palestine.
About a number of things, not just about Palestine, like tweets that if the authorities deem it to be inflammatory in any way, you can be arrested for a tweet. Which, same thing that has been happening in Germany because of this hate speech thing. I am not the biggest fan of the Western European countries, especially in the last 10 years or so.
Alright.
I feel like they've been they've overplayed their hand. A lot of them would not exist without American aid, especially militarily in the form of NATO. Yet, even at that point, they seem to think that they can impose their agenda upon people, because slowly Europe has, especially Western Europe, has become slowly more and more socialist. Nothing wrong with that. Of course, like you pick sides, whatever the case may be. But it's led to a few things happening lah, which namely is one of the things that you've been highlighting when it comes to this freedom of speech issues. And it's unfortunate, but something has to be done. And I think you saw JD Vance a couple of weeks ago. He spoke in at the Munich Security Conference, and he was calling out the Germans for imprisoning people over speech offences.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So the US are like free speech absolutists, right? Especially with the current administration.
Yeah.
So yeah, a lot of things. I don't think they'd ever levy tariffs on Germany, for example, but or even sanctions. But I don't know, man.
I have a question, and I don't know if this is the conversation for us to be having.
Okay.
But what constitutes as anti-Semitism? Because I noticed that's a lot of the the throwaway words that
Yep,
people would
yep.
say
Like if you
whenever
criticize Israel,
yeah,
suddenly
whenever
you're
you
anti-Semite.
criticize Israel, you side with the terrorists, or
Yep.
you hate democracy, or
Yep.
whatever it is.
Yep.
So because for me, I feel like Palestinians are Semites. So I feel like, how can I be anti-Semitism? How can
That's
I be
a
an
very, very
anti-Semitist
fair point.
when
Very, very
I'm
fair
like
point.
defending Palestinians? They
Yep.
are Semites.
Yep.
You know, in fact, I would say they are more Semites than a lot of the Israelis.
Yeah, a lot of people, especially the people that like to defend this issue, be it Jews or non-Jews, but the people that defend the whole criticizing Israel is being anti-Semitic.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's wrong. And sorry, I don't want to put it that way. It's not that I think that's wrong. That is objectively wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Because anti-Semitism is being anti-Jewish.
Yeah.
And you're not. It's the same thing as Islamophobia.
Mm-hmm.
It's the exact same thing. It's just a term anti-Semitic because you're referring to Jews.
Yeah.
Okay? But in terms of the component of it, the hatred of it, everything is exact same thing as Islamophobia.
Mm-hmm.
And if you ask me, Islamophobia, if you look at the comparison, okay, you can't. Fair enough, because Israel is the only Jewish state in the world.
Yeah.
So you sort of can't say, like, if you criticize Saudi, you're criticizing Islam.
Mhm.
You can't. You sort of can't say that. You criticize any Muslim country,
Yeah.
and you're not necessarily criticizing Islam.
Yeah.
You know, unless you're criticizing the specific Islamic policies.
Mm.
So that's a whole different story.
Mhm.
Okay, so anti-Semitic, where it comes, where it's gotten to the point where it's seen as being critical of the nation of Israel.
Yeah.
I think that has become a bastardization of the word. Simply because the nation of Israel has Christians, has Muslims, has Jews, and even some Zoroasters as well. So if you look at it, it's not like a lot of Israelis are also Christians.
Yeah.
You know, so you can't say that. It's not the correct way to term it. People like to use it that way in order to get the headlines, in order to sound bombastic, but that's just not the case, and it's wrong. And anyone who is learned, who is even halfway intelligent would understand that, you know.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, people in higher places, they tend to use that to their own benefit lah, to get more funding, you know, things like that. It's unfortunate.
And I feel like it's such a like you said, a bastardization of the word being used. So nowadays you can't even criticize the apartheid or the genocide going on without being labeled as an anti-Semitism or like a racist. You know, so. And I feel like you have to draw a line somewhere where you can sort of, for a lot of people, I think online, they are not able to fathom the fact that they might be wrong. You know,
you just described the Democrats? Oh my God.
Also the Republicans. Yeah.
Okay, so to be quite honest about it, that's how I see it. Like it looks very, very similar to the denial the Democrats had about the woke issue. Okay, like they kept pushing the woke issue, the whole transgender thing, the gay thing, and all that. And then suddenly they got caught with their in their hands during the election, you know. And the whole country was like, "No, we against that. Though.
Yeah.
We don't want that, you know, with our kids."
Yeah.
You know, and I think that a similar thing will happen to the people that push anti-Semitism too far. And I think a course correction will eventually happen.
Oh, okay.
To the sense,
I see what you're saying.
To the point where people will be like people, as in the general public, will change the sentiment of being like, yeah, I think you guys are going too far. We're not talking about Israel. And eventually, as more intelligent people talk about it, more, and it permeates more into the zeitgeist of humanity, of people. When we talk on Twitter, on Meta and all that, as more of that gets talked about, and a collective realization happens, and the course correction will automatically happen. I feel like.
So do you think in the future people in Israel will have a completely different mindset about what's going on? Because
Dude,
like
I'm not surprised if because of this, Israel might not even exist 100 years from now.
You think so?
Yeah, I don't mean that as a threat.
Okay.
I mean that as an observer,
As
you
a
know,
possible conclusion.
as a possible
Outcome.
collateral outcome.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
that might not be what they intended. They intended to make Israel stronger, but because of that, they turn all these Western European countries who have been their ally.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and they turn it against them slowly. Like it's turning. Like more and more Palestinian protests have been
Yep,
going on
yep.
in all these Western, even in Australia, which is like separated by 2-3 oceans. There's
Yeah.
the Indian Ocean, Pacific Ocean. You know, like, and still they're protesting over there. So
And I think they are protesting because partly their government is either pro-Israel or against Hamas or Palestinians. So in countries like Malaysia, where
Correct.
the majority of the people are probably pro-Palestine, we don't see a lot of protests like that here. But especially in Western countries, who the government can be seen to be against the Palestinians, like Germany, like maybe UK, US, you would see all these protests happening all over these countries.
that's partly also because of the refugee community. Like the people who have been displaced and who have moved on to the US, to Germany. Germany has a very big refugee camp, UN refugee camp. The UK as well. So UK, as we know, they have a lot of Middle Eastern migrants, you know, coming to the UK.
Yeah.
And because of that, these people are turning into voters. You know, eventually, especially in Western Europe, if not in the US, in Western Europe, you know, these people are turning into voters, and voters eventually elect people into power.
Yeah.
And the young generation, like maybe if you consider anyone who's 50 and under,
50 and under.
yeah, 50 and under, they are mostly pro-Palestinian.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
around the world. Okay, on aggregate around the world.
Yeah, majority-wise,
Yeah.
yeah.
So these people are slowly going to be elevated into higher and higher positions of power. And what do you think those decisions vis-a-vis Israel is going to be like with all these pro-Palestinian people in power? You see what I mean?
Yeah. So in
the
20
thing's gonna
years,
change.
in 20 years from now, are you saying that perhaps the newer people will change the mindset or the way of thinking, especially in those sort of countries?
Yeah. Because Israel's mistake is that they have abandoned the whole marketing aspect of the conflict, because
Well,
they've always marketed it well. You see,
What do you mean?
like this kind of protests, these Palestinian protests, have only been happening since October 7.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But the conflict has been 70 years long.
Yeah, I mean we already have protests, but not at the scale as it is
Correct.
now. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. Awareness is not at the
Awareness.
scale that it is
Yeah.
now. Has
So-
never been at the scale that it is now.
Yeah.
So, my point is simply that people are going to eventually realize, you know, that sorry. My point is simply that the like, especially Bibi, who's been in power for so long, he's no longer trying to placate the other side who do not want war. He's just going all out war.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
all out. You know, let's get rid of them, and that has never been the stance of Israel. At least openly.
Yeah.
You know, at least openly. There's never been their stance. And now they've dispensed with the idea that, we need a two-party state. Let's just get rid of them. That's how they feel, you know. So like I said, they've abandoned the whole marketing aspect. They're not. They're just saying that, okay, eradicating the Palestinians is what's going to be best for everyone.
So is that their marketing stance now? Just getting rid of the Palestinians?
I don't think it's their marketing stance. It's just that's honestly what they want to do, and they're not trying to soften the blow by any means.
They're not even trying to hide it.
No,
you know?
no, they're not.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can thank Bibi for that. Yeah.
So speaking of Israel, a few weeks ago we were supposed to have a ceasefire, or at least a temporary ceasefire between
Correct.
the Hamas and Israel. So in that amount of time during the ceasefire, both parties were supposed to be releasing hostages. And I'm not sure if you've seen some of the images, but the hostages that were released from Israel prisons look very different from the hostages that were released from the Palestinian prisons.
Yep.
You can see like the Palestinian hostages. They would come out of the prison like looking so skinny, like you can tell that they have been mentally and physically tortured.
Yep.
Whereas on the other side, you can see like the Israeli hostages, when they were released, they were kissing all these Hamas.
Their captors, yeah.
Yeah, their captors and stuff like that. So it looks very different. Like they all look healthy, whereas the Palestinians
Yep.
hostages look terrible.
Yep.
But anyways, my point is, recently Israel violated the ceasefire by cutting off energy supplies and access to drinking water to over 1 million Palestinians. So I wanted to ask you, like, basically, we've seen all the injustice, we've seen all the graphic, heartbreaking videos from Gaza.
Yep.
So I want to ask you, why can't the neighboring countries, or you can argue why can't some Muslim countries help Palestine out more?
Okay, this is this is a very, very complicated issue. Is okay. We have to flesh this out properly. So, firstly, by neighboring countries. What do you
Okay.
mean by neighboring countries? You mean like
Egypt,
Jordan, Saudi.
Jordan, yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. You see the differences. There are 22 republics. There are 22 different Arab states in the Middle East. Okay. I could try to name them all, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to miss some. So I'm not going to do that. But basically, Palestine is right in the middle of. I think to the north of Palestine is Lebanon, correct? To the south is Jordan and Egypt, and then to their east is Iraq and Iran, if I'm not mistaken.
And then on the west is just the beach, the sea.
The Red Sea lah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So the issue, okay. Let's start with Saudi.
Okay.
I
richest
guess
or
the richest and most powerful Arab state.
Yeah.
Okay, in the world today, Saudi Arabia. The King Salman and the Crown Prince Muhammad bin Salman both have publicly taken a stance of criticizing what has happened in Palestine, yet actual involvement, actual aid in doing something seemingly has not been achieved or has not been done, especially on the Saudi part. Same goes, you can say, to the Emiratis,
Okay.
right? The Bahrain,
Yeah.
UAE, Kuwait, Qatar. Yeah, you know. So they're not, they don't seem to be taking an active role in making sure the violence stops, right?
Why is that?
Okay. First and foremost, before we get to that, So, but however, there have been other Muslim states that are helping.
Yeah.
They are helping the Palestinians, the Gazans, namely the Lebanese, right? Also, of course, the biggest one is the Iranians, as well as Houthis in Yemen.
Yeah.
You know, they've also been helping. So, what do all these
Countries have in common?
yeah.
They're a Muslim country. They're Muslim
Yes,
countries.
yes.
They're Middle Eastern.
They are Shiites.
They are Shiites. Yeah.
They're Shiite countries.
Okay.
Hezbollah, you know, Lebanon, they are Shiites. In the view of Saudi, okay. And the Sunni Muslims, which are the majority of Muslims around the world, the majority of the Sunni Muslims are view the Shiites as ajaran sesat,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
Even in Malaysia,
Yeah.
we have it as alternative, like it's a banned religion.
Right.
You know,
Yep.
Shia, right? Shia in Malaysia is Shia, and it's a banned religion. Like we can't, like that's not the Muslim that we,
Yeah.
the
We don't
Islam that
practice
we
that
practice.
kind of, yeah.
It's not even in the four schools of Islam, the mainstream schools of Islam that we know. We are Shafi'i, right? In Malaysia, and even they don't even Shia is not considered a school of Islam. It's a completely different teaching. Okay, a different way of praying, a different way, everything like fasting, everything. So the Saudis subscribe to something called Wahhabism.
Okay.
All right, and they are fiercely against the Shiites.
Okay.
To the point that, have you heard of someone called Prince Al-Walid bin Talal?
I feel like I've heard that.
Of course you have. He has been the richest man in Saudi Arabia for the last 30 years.
Until now?
No, he still is.
He still is.
He still
Okay,
is.
okay.
He still is. 25 years. Okay? He has this ridiculous car collection. Like he's known for, if he likes a certain car, he buys that car in 7 different colours for a different day of the week. That kind of thing. Yeah.
Like LGBT colours? Or
No. Like he's a baller. He's a real baller.
Okay.
So recently, about I think 2-3 weeks ago, he had he conducted an interview. He held someone held an interview with him, interviewed him. Someone called Tucker Carlson, and Prince Al-Walid bin Talal is also the essentially de facto foreign minister of Saudi.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. But primarily he's an investor.
Okay.
Okay. He's like a hedge fund guy.
Okay.
He has multiple investments. He's outside of Elon Musk, he is X's biggest investor.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So Prince Al-Walid has said that it is the view of the Crown Prince, who is de facto Prime Minister of Saudi, that Iran and I quote him in saying this, Iran is a dogmatic government. They are the Iranian leadership is born out of extremism. That's what he said. Okay, and these are the Saudis saying it. Okay, they are the strongest, and Qatar, UAE, they all share this sentiment. You know, I don't blame them, because what they have done is they have perpetuated violence in the Arab world.
You're saying Iran?
Yeah. If you look at the different monarchies, because there are 2 types of governments in the Arab world amongst the 22 republics. Okay. One type is the monarchies.
Yeah.
The Saudis, Qatar, Bahrain. You know, they all have kings,
royal families.
Yeah. And then you also have the democratic republics. Palestine, Yemen, Syria, Iran. So you see the common thread there. The democratic republics are the ones that are destroyed.
Yeah.
And the monarchy, the countries with the monarchies are the ones that are thriving today.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. But are the rich one the Shafi'i or?
Sorry?
The rich countries.
Sunnis.
They're Sunnis, right?
The monarchies are all Sunnis. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Like the Ayatollahs, the supreme leaders and all that, they are voted
Okay.
on. Yeah, they have elections and that.
Okay, so the question was like, why don't these Islam countries, regardless whether they are Sunnis or Shias, maybe that's a big part why, but why
because
don't
Iran has they are against Hamas too.
You're saying the
Saudis. Yeah, the Saudis.
Okay.
Yeah, they don't. The only ones that are actually in support of Hamas openly are Qatar, who have a Hamas office in Qatar, in Doha itself. Like I said, the situation is very, very, very complicated, and also what Prince Al-Walid said is that it is the official stance of the Saudi government that they are ready to start diplomatic relations with Israel.
Yeah, I saw that.
You know, so it's already clear which side the Saudis have chosen, and essentially the Sunni world has chosen. Qatar, to their credit, has been trying to broker the peace. Qatar has been trying.
Yeah.
But the others are more like, it's a shit show. We don't want to put our hands inside.
Yeah, we're not going to get involved.
We're not going to get involved. It's a shit show. We don't want to get involved. So, and you can't like come on and install a king.
No,
Now,
you can't.
like the only part that you could do that is probably Iran, the only country. You bring back the Shah.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
Crown Prince is still alive.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's living in London now. In exile, of course.
Right.
But he still carries the title of the Crown Prince of Iran.
But will people still elect him?
Apparently, he still has quite a big influence in Iran. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Okay. Wow. Well, that's a bit depressing. You know,
Yeah,
learning.
but it's reality of the situation, because the Saudis are going to look out for themselves. Like Prince Awalid said, it's the official stance of that they want the destruction of Iran, or
The
at least
Saudi-
the Saudis said that.
Wow.
So how do you mend that? Like Abraham Accords, Iran doesn't want to be a part of that. Like if you don't want to be a part of that, then how are you gonna, like, everyone else is getting on board? Why are you guys not getting on board? You know?
Yeah. But what do you think, like, so basically the world is, I would say the majority is supporting Palestine. Do you think this would change the fact or the possibility that
The world doesn't want the killing to continue.
Yeah.
That's what the world doesn't want.
Yeah.
The world doesn't care about the politics of it.
I mean, okay,
You know?
you can argue that.
What I see is that everybody just wants people to stop disturbing the Palestinians.
Yeah.
Let them be. Give them their own country. Let them be. Stop oppressing
Yeah,
them.
but yeah,
That's what the world wants. It's not about a politics issue. When it comes to why the neighboring countries are not helping out, that becomes a political issue. And that's the unfortunate part. But yeah, every Tom, Dick and Harry, if you are of sound mind, you would know that, yeah, women and children are dying. You want it to stop. Who doesn't want it to stop?
Israelis.
Well, I don't think it's all Israelis
No.
either. It's their government, you know?
Yeah, it is
It's
the
their government.
Yeah,
It's their government.
it is
It's the Zionist aspect of it.
I would say
The Zionist doctrine.
yeah. I mean, like how many years has Bibi been the prime minister of Israel?
I think he's pushing Mahdi
Yeah, like
numbers,
20
man.
years,
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah, he's pushing Mahdi numbers.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he's gotten more popular since the war, since October 7.
He's gotten
He's
more popular in Israel.
In Israel, like
Yeah,
his
yeah,
approval rating and all that. And that's who
No, I feel like
guarantees his power.
at the I mean that guarantees his power, because like while they're in a war, they can't have like a general election and that sort of
And
stuff.
before October 7, he was on the way out.
Yeah, you're right.
His
you're
approval
right.
rating was so low.
Yeah.
He was on the way out.
But I would say even I think over the last few months, his ratings between Israelis, I feel like has dropped
A
over
bit,
the
yeah?
last year.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But
okay.
at the middle of the war and early stages of the war, his number was quite high, because I feel like a lot of Israelis do kind of want.
Yeah, because
the
there was a lot of
thing to
narrative
happen.
of like, oh, this is our 9/11. You know,
Yeah,
there was a lot of that.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that galvanizes people for a short while.
Yeah.
But if it's not actually 9/11, if it's not actually a tragedy of that level, and you use the word 9/11, people are going to be like, yeah, you know, you're talking out your ass a bit.
Yeah.
You know, and
Like
that's what happened.
Even like
Sort of what
20 years since 9/11, a lot of people have been coming out with their own speculation and theories as to who did it, why people did 9/11. So I think in 10, 20 years from now, people are going to say like, oh, did October 7th really, was it Hamas that did it, or is it someone else?
No,
I
people
feel-
are already saying. Even Americans are already saying. Influential mega Republicans
Yeah.
are already saying that October 7 was, if not specifically done by Mossad as a false flag event, was definitely known about and led to happen.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So
Because I feel like Israel has obviously
the Iron Dome,
they
dude.
have the Iron Dome. They have
that doesn't make sense. You let like people
Yeah.
like farmers with rockets
Yeah.
shoot up rockets.
They have like some of the most advanced military weapons in the world.
Yep.
So like for them to just let, I mean, I don't know if they let, but for them to probably a slight on their part, maybe they didn't think about it, but like they to have that music festival so close near the border, and I mean it's a genuine, I would say, not underestimate.
Mossad must have known.
Yeah, they must have
They
known.
must have known. They are the foremost intelligence agency in the world.
And this
Up
is
there with the DSG, with the CIA, like, no way, dude. No way they didn't know. No way.
Okay, so I'm sure we'll carry on about this topic more in the future. As long as as long as the war is still going, I think we'll still be talking about it. So let's move on to some light-hearted political news, I would say.
Let's go.
Okay, maybe it's not news per se, but I do wanna for those that watch this show and they wanna learn more about Malaysian politics and stuff like that, I feel like 1MDB is a good place for them to start.
Okay.
Because 1MDB is probably the biggest corruption scandal to have come out in Malaysia.
It's not probably, it definitely is.
It's the biggest.
In terms of numbers,
yes, it's the biggest so far.
Yeah.
But it's a recurring theme, I would say, in Malaysian politics. You know, when it comes to corruption, when it comes to money laundering, when it comes to bribery, all this.
Money politics. Let's not call it bribery. Let's call it money politics.
Money politics.
Yeah.
So
bribery is like a very dirty word.
Okay, so
it makes me feel like I have to take a shower after this.
I feel like we have to take a shower after this.
Yeah, we probably do. Not together though.
I mean,
no.
Okay.
Come on, man.
Okay. So basically, to those that don't know, we're gonna give you guys a quick political history lesson, I would say.
Yeah.
So we're gonna talk about 1MDB, which is called the One Malaysia Development Berhad. It's created by Najib Tun Razak, our 6th Prime Minister, together with the help of Jolo, who happens to be his son's friend. Am I getting that right so far? So Jolo is the friend.
The correction was made through Riza Aziz, correct?
Okay.
Stepson.
Okay, through stepson.
Rosmah's son.
Okay.
From her previous marriage.
Okay, so he knew Jolo from there, and together they created this.
No, 1MDB was already created.
Oh, okay.
And then Jolo was brought on.
Okay.
Yeah.
So basically, when Jolo was brought on, they decided that 1MDB was to be used to help boost local economy by strengthening small and medium-sized businesses in Malaysia to help the economy. But
no, 1MDB was created as a sovereign wealth fund.
Yeah.
So the idea is that like what the Saudis and the Arab Gulf oil states have been doing, where they take their oil money proceeds, they put it in a fund and use that to invest outside of the country so that they don't rely completely on the oil revenue.
Right. Okay.
So that was the main point of 1MDB.
Yes. Okay, so and then obviously they have to use this money to invest and to grow the sovereign wealth fund.
Yeah.
So one of the positives, I would say, and probably one of the start of the downfall for Jolo, is when he produced this movie called Wolf of Wall Street.
Correct.
Well,
he didn't produce it. He funded it. The producer was Riza Aziz.
Okay.
Rosmah's son. Yeah.
Okay. So
but Jolo was the financier.
Yes.
Correct.
So if I'm not mistaken, he financed over $100 million to produce this movie. And
won an Oscar though.
Sorry?
Won an Oscar.
Yeah.
Best Picture.
Yeah, Best Picture. And also Leonardo DiCaprio won the Golden Globes, I think, for that.
He didn't win the Oscar, right?
He didn't win the Oscar, but he won the Golden Globes for that. And in his speech, he personally thanked Jolo.
Joe, Riz. And
he thanked all of them. And then I think that's the start of the downfall, I would say. When exposed everything. When everyone, when Leonardo DiCaprio was like, "Oh, I gotta thank Joe. Thank you so much for believing in this movie or whatever." And then we Malaysians we found out that Jolo is a Malaysian. He's the producer or the financier of this movie. How much did he spend in this movie? $100 million. Wow. What does he do? Yeah, $100 million. And then all the Malaysians are like, what does he do actually? Turns out that's when we found out that, he was sort of in charge of this sovereign wealth fund called 1MDB, and that's when Malaysians started to become furious and you know,
had an office in KLCC and everything.
and I mean, like, Jolo, he was quite famous for his parties in Hollywood. Actually, he, according to the reports and some of the pictures, he partied with Leonardo DiCaprio. He would party with Paris Hilton. I'm not surprised if he partied with Didi. Actually,
I think he might have.
He might have actually.
I think the most famous one was Miranda Kerr.
Oh yes,
Miranda
he
Kerr.
bought a crystal or a glass piano.
Worth
necklace
worth millions.
With millions of ringgit to Miranda Kerr.
Paintings.
Paintings and all that. So when people found out about 1MDB, that was when it was coming up to the grand general election a year later. So for the first time,
thank Claire Castle Brown for that from Sarawak Report.
Oh yes.
She was the journalist who exposed it first.
Yes, so we gotta thank her.
Shout out Claire.
So basically, when that happened, during the general election, everyone was so mad at Najib that for the first time in Malaysia's history, we actually have a different government party that is not UMNO. For the first time in Malaysia's, I think at that point it was 60 plus years. So for 60 plus years, UMNO was
This is the one that Najib lost, right?
This is the one that Najib lost. So for the first time ever, UMNO
the
lost.
one that Tun became PM.
Yeah. So and that is another crazy story too. So okay, so 1MDB aside, okay. So Mahathir, when he was the prime minister for like over 20 years, right?
22. To be exact. Yeah.
So he put his finance minister Anwar Ibrahim in jail
and he was also deputy prime minister.
He was also deputy prime minister and the finance minister, right?
Yeah.
So Mahathir put his right hand man to jail for allegedly doing sodomy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Do you remember this, or were you like quite really young when this happened?
I was really young, but I don't know the details. Not sodomy one though.
So regardless whether you think he was blackmailed or he was falsely accused, Anwar was sentenced in jail. So I think it was almost a decade he was in jail. So when he got out, he founded his own party and was I would say a big leader or a famous leader in his own party. So, but because of Najib and this whole 1MDB scandal, Mahathir, who put this guy Anwar in jail, worked together, and I mean they were like political force before that. But because of Najib, they worked together just to get rid of Najib and to get rid of UMNO. And then, it's crazy. One thing is because Mahathir put Anwar in jail, and Anwar is just like fine with it. So now, it's crazy that we have a prime minister that used to be in jail, and also a former prime minister that is currently in jail or house arrest.
Mm-hmm.
You know how the tables have turned.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to talk about Anwar specifically, but a lot of the prime ministers since Najib has been caught with, I would say, some financial scandals.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When it comes to
Najib,
corruption, Najib, Ismail Sabri, Muhyiddin Yassin, all these prime ministers that we've had probably just over the last 5 years or like less than 10 years. Most of them have been caught with corruption scandals.
Like I said last week, it's considered they are alleged to be corruption, but more likely than anything, it's campaign funds. Like I said, so funds that used to be distributed to your ketua bahagian and all that.
Okay, I get that. I get that. For 100 million plus,
and it's cash though.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
with the cash, where you gonna get, like, how you gonna trace it?
Yeah.
You can't trace that.
It's likely that that's probably what the money is for, like for campaigning and stuff like
and
that.
they do get whatever you want to say about these people. They do get donations.
Yeah, yeah.
Like I know of a lot of wealthy businessmen that still contribute millions to political campaigns. You know, some even go to the extent of sponsoring a certain MP or politician or whatever.
for
you know?
sure, for sure.
Like, this happens in Malaysia. So I don't know if it's corruption to the extent that this guy was finance minister. He went into the finance minister. He went into the treasury and took out $1 billion. You know, like even Najib's thing. Beyond the whole 1MDB thing is when he was caught with that more than $1 billion in his bank account.
In his
right?
bank account.
Even then, like, okay lah, fine. There's a bit more than most because there's a paper trail there lah, right? Where you can see where it's coming from. But yeah, I mean, most of the time it's cash.
Yeah.
Or things that you just can't. You just don't know. You just don't know where they come from. And until you do, it's hard to. Until you have a proper paper trail like SRC International with Rosmah.
Yeah.
Right? It's hard to catch these guys.
Yeah, but even with a paper trail, even Rosmah, who was caught with so many like jewelry bags and stuff like that, but even she was able to.
She's only on the hook for 13.8 million, something like that.
Yes.
The whole SRC thing, yeah.
Yes. But
whereas all the cash, jewelry, and handbags were worth way more than that.
Yeah, for sure. So even she is sort of is out of the spotlight now.
Yeah.
And I think she was
which is, I think, what she prefers. Nowadays.
Yeah. And I feel like you can't. Especially if you're in politics right now, you have to be super careful about that. Even like Syed Saddiq, he was caught with 1 million ringgit worth of.
And that was with the paper trail.
That was with the paper trail too.
Not so smart lah.
So like for all these politicians, I feel like money is obviously a big issue in Malaysia. So I feel like with all the examples that we've had previously, like Najib, Ismail Sabri or Muhyiddin, you would think that a politician would be smart enough to cover their trails. I think KJ does that very well, even though he's no longer a politician.
Okay.
He has so many different companies under his belt, and not many people know that actually. Yeah. So he does that very well, I think.
Yeah. I mean, what do you expect? The guy is an Oxford graduate.
Oxford,
Yeah.
Oxford or Harvard?
Oxford or Cambridge.
Okay.
Yeah. He was UK trained. Yeah. So that's why he still has a bit of that socialist streak in him.
Yeah.
I don't like that. That's the only part about him I don't like. I love KJ, dude. I think out of everyone, like literally everyone we have, not every politician that we have, like everyone in the country, I think he would be the best to lead.
Yeah, but okay, that's what. My point is, it's difficult to trust politicians. Like even if like some of the younger people now, they look at Syed Saddiq, they look at him. Oh, this is gonna be like the future Prime Minister of Malaysia or whatever. Like because he's still very young and he has a long way to go in Malaysian politics. So before he had an opportunity to study at Harvard, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. And he turned that down so that he can run in the election when in 2018, was it?
Yeah.
When Najib lost the general election. So that was when, and at that point he was the youngest minister in the world. He was what, 22 or 23 years old back then?
Youth and sports.
He was the minister of youth and sports and the youngest minister in the world. And he sacrificed his education just so that he can serve in the Malaysian politics. And back then we thought, oh, how
noble,
how amazing is that? Like, you know, he could have just gone over to the UK, could get his masters or PhD, but instead he came back here to fight for Malaysia. Basically, how noble! Until eventually he was caught with 1 million ringgit. You know, so
to be fair, I was one of the ones saying that I don't trust this guy. Like, that's not something you do. Like, if you are really thinking about the betterment of your country, like, you go get your education, get your experience, then you come back. Who at 22, 25, even at 25, you don't have enough life experience to be leading. You know, that's how I feel about it.
Yeah, but I feel like
I myself have had aspirations to run in Adun. I'm not gonna say which one because if I do decide to do it, it's gonna be a big deal. So I'm not gonna say which Adun yet.
I think doing this show has decreased your chances of.
Increased it. Like, look at KJ, dude. After keluar sekejap, like, everyone wants a piece of him.
Yeah, but before
he's even doing like Baju Melayu sponsorships now, dude.
Yeah. He's like the ambassador for so many different brands.
things.
Yeah, but he's
great guy.
He was a successful politician before that. But even before keluar sekejap, maybe he lost favor in UMNO or in Barisan Nasional, but he lost the election in Sungai Buloh. So I mean, like, before keluar sekejap, sure, now everyone wants him. But back then, people.
I think that was because of Sungai Buloh, not because of him. Because of the area. They were done with UMNO. Like, an UMNO candidate would not have won in Sungai Buloh by any chance. Not in the most recent election. No chance. No chance at all. Because he was affiliated with UMNO, and I've always said UMNO has to be a strong opposition, as strong as they were when they were in the government.
Yeah,
they have to be that. If they want to show that they deserve a second chance, that's what they have to do. You know, it doesn't serve the country to have one strong party and one weak party. Doesn't, especially in opposition government environment, doesn't serve us at all. Doesn't serve the rakyat. You know.
What's your prediction for the next election?
Well, I don't know, man. Next election is gonna be a show. That's what I think. It's gonna be jumbled up.
Yeah.
This whole unity government was supposed to be solved by now, but it's still unity government. It's just a threat. Is what's the people holding power. They're holding on to power by a threat. That's all it is now. So when election comes and the campaigning happens and talking starts, it's gonna be a whole different story, whole different environment. So are you gonna get another unity government? Might not. But if we do, then we're just gonna go down the road of the UK, you know, which is nothing gets done.
Yeah. Hopefully that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think that's all for the episode today. Thank you guys so much for joining and listening for this episode. And Jay, anything you want to say before we close the shop?
Well, most of these are our opinions.
Yes.
Don't take them too seriously. Like, you can parrot our opinions if you want.
Yeah,
like, you can go out, say it to your friends, whatever. But
but
do your research, know what you're talking about. You know, like, be educated, be knowledgeable. Is the most powerful currency. Like, with knowledge, you'll always be valuable in some way.
Yes, do your own research. You can parrot us if you want and talk about what we say to your friends, but don't hold us accountable if you get beat up for your opinions. You know what I mean?
And if you do, you shouldn't be around those people. Words are words.
Yeah.
Right. Like, share, subscribe. Most importantly, please comment, engage with us. You know, we'll comment back or we'll bring up what you comment.
Yeah.
On the next episode.
So
or something like that.
If you think that there are any issues that we should talk about, do comment. Put a comment in the comment section.
For sure, more topics.
Yeah. All right. So that's it from us today. It's been a blast. What do I usually say? It's been a blast. So I guess me and BJ will see you in the next episode.
Ciao.
All right. Ciao.
Let's go.